Good morning, Mr. Joseph. Chairperson, I think you are on mute.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning, TM. TM.
Morning, sir. I'm a bit not well. I'm not well, but I can hear your voice.
Good morning, TM. Morning.
Morning, Honorable Dennis.
Morning, DM.
Morning, colleagues. Morning, Honorable Adams. I'm here, but I'm not at the best of my health.
Yeah.
Morning, Baba.
All of the best day, DM.
Hey, DM,
DM is a little bit in the dark side this morning.
I hope the chair is better this morning.
Hey, I'm trying. I'm trying, Honorable Dennis. I wish that maybe if we can end in time, I'll go and see the doctor. I can't.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sitting without medication.
Oh, that's not good, chair. Then you need to get to the doctor. Yes.
No, it's not good. It's not good. Let me try to check that everybody is here. Department, I've seen TM is here. DG, State Council, DG Sumaya. Oh no, honorable members, let me take this opportunity to declare this meeting is open. But I must not forget to congratulate our department and the presidency to do this top up to our Banyana. I'm suspecting we need to pat us at our backs also, as our department is always, when we knock, listen to us. We are proud of what is happening in the women's sport. Suspecting there are those other people, they are thinking that we cannot get to this level. The ministry, we are thanking you very much to take the women's sport very serious. I'm suspecting, as you have trying to support you when you say now we need a developmental sport, and developmental sport is needed most. But this is a wonderful achievement that we're getting. Another thing, I must, as I'm welcoming everybody, also to tell this committee and our department that I want that we must congratulate Miss Fiona Clinton being appointed as our content advisor. And then also we must congratulate Mr. Solomon Mtombeni, who is going to be in the second house being a content advisor. I'm suspecting, honorable members, they've done good job with these two members of staff of ours. We've been without content advisor, but they were doing dual work. Now they are fruits of commitment and dedication to serve this committee, as we're losing Mr. Solomon, but I'm suspecting all of us were happy for themselves because they've been hands-on. I must not also forget to say, as was looking forward for 2023, we are seeing girls that the way that they are playing and they are winning each and every match that they are doing is encouraging. We were looking forward for 2023, and those of us whom we are around, wherever they are playing, we need to go and support them. The unfortunate part of it, when we're being invited to go to, what is this place, to Sunset, it was a bad week that were grounded, all of us. The Office of House Chairperson was saying that we've seen the memo that we cannot go anywhere, but we've seen that our department was part of that. We have seen it was successful, and even of the 22nd one, I'm suspecting there's one that it's in Saturday 27. Those who can be nearer, let's go and be part of whatever is going on with our netball. Honorable members, I wanted to play and need guidance. We did discuss about the agenda, but I'm apologizing to the staff of this committee that this item, which when we're going to adopt the agenda, I wanted that, can we take off the last point of outcomes of the independent medical review of the injury that led to the death of Simiso Buthelezi. I was just telling them that I do feel that it's sensitive, that we must discuss that. We don't know, what about the family? If now today we'll be opening this thing, maybe I need to be advised, because the office, they are saying that they put it here because there are so many people asking for this information. But to me, I'm suspecting it's cultural. I felt that to open this in this way, what about the family? Before we adopt the agenda, I will seek the advice to the leadership, which is members of the committee and the department. By doing that, I've introduced I've seen that the leadership of Boxing South Africa is with us. I'll give it to you, Honorable Dennis. I've seen that the leadership is here, and I wanted now to get to apologies. Do we have
May I speak?
Now, I'll give you, before adoption, let's get apologies first.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The only apology we have is that of Mamu Kaula, who is in the Karoo and struggling with connectivity. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other apology from invitees or from the department?
Good morning, Honorable Chair.
Morning, DJ.
And good morning to honorable members. Good morning to the Honorable Deputy Minister of the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture. Honorable, to the colleagues from Boxing SA, the CEO, the Chair, may I just, Chairperson, request that as we had solicited advice, that today there is a dual clashing of the committee's invitation to the department. Select committee starting at 10 and the portfolio committee starting now. So my request and the way we have split the team was that I will be here at the beginning, but I will then have to leave Sumaya, request that I leave Sumaya and Simpiwe, and we'll be able to join the select committee at 10 with the other rest of the DDGs based on the number of items that are affected. Because we couldn't get guidance on whether the other meeting can be then cancelled or be rescheduled to start at different times. So we had to then split the team, chairperson. Hence, then I am here with the TDG for program 2. Thank you.
Thank you, DG. You were not going to cancel that meeting because we did ask special meeting. So we appreciate that you are dividing yourself because of packed program of this committee. We do see that we need to ask some permission of Wednesdays because Fridays we are given. Thank you so much. Now I'm getting to Honorable Dennis.
Chairperson, thank you very much for the opportunity. And all I wanted to comment on your suggestion about the point that must be removed. All I want to say to you is that under the Boxing South Africa, the annual report or the APP, there is quite a coverage of the same topic. Of course, I have prepared quite a few questions under that for the same point that you are asking us to take off the agenda. That's all I wanted to say there.
What you suggest?
It's affecting that one as well. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you, Chair.
Must we leave it here?
No, I say if we leave it, if we take it off, we must take the other one also off. That's because there is a in the presentation, it is covered there as well.
Okay. Honorable members, this is the view of Honorable Dennis. What is the view of the meeting? Not only on members, DGDM, DDG, everyone. Oh.
Chair.
Is it a difficult question?
No, it's not, Chair. I raised my hand, Chair.
I'm sorry I didn't open the
yeah.
Who's this? Oh, Honorable Zondi, yes.
Yes, Chair. Let me show myself so that you see.
We are not in track suits.
No, I'm not in track Chair, thank you very much. I listened to Honorable Joseph and you first. I don't know why we included the matter, whether it was a request from the committee that we want to know what happened to Simiso Buthelezi. But if the matter is covered in the report of Boxing South Africa, why do we have it separately if it is covered? We can't have, if we want to know details of it, we can have it, we can leave it, the agenda as it is. But if we want to know as covered in the report of Boxing South Africa, we can remove it and have those, unless we want details of it. Just that, Chair, I don't have the reason why we have it. But if it is covered in the report of Boxing South Africa, why do we have it separately as an item? I support the notion of removing it if it is covered in the Boxing South African report presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Sondi, Honorable Sumai, and Mr. Lutando after Honorable Sumailka.
Good morning, Chairperson and honorable members. Good morning, Deputy Minister, CEO and Chairperson of Boxing and the board members. Chairperson, I think Boxing South Africa was quite clear that they would not provide a written presentation. However, there would be the medical officer who would be in the meeting to provide a report. I would believe there's, any information of this nature could be sensitive and has a level of confidentiality, and hence the request to present it instead of providing a written report well ahead of time. But if Chairperson Mr. Jack has his hand raised, I'm sure he can elaborate further, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, DTG. Mr. Jack.
Thanks, Chairperson. Good morning to you and members of the committee, as well as good morning to our DM as well, Honorable Mafu. Good morning to DG members of and his team, as well as good morning to members of the board and our management. Yes, Chair. We were requested as Boxing South Africa to report on the investigation that we commissioned, in this regard. Of course, we were concerned about this. So I think I share your sentiments about sensitivities surrounding this matter. We don't have a problem in reporting how we work with the family around issues of funeral and so on, cooperation we had. But with regards to the technical aspect of the investigation, we have not yet briefed the family about the preliminary outcomes of that process. So we think that from a cultural point of view, probably it will not be it will be seen as insensitive if we were to then discuss the same before we formally brief the family about the preliminary outcomes. The investigation has not yet been concluded. Only got a preliminary report, from our medical committee. So I would support your view that perhaps let's temporarily withdraw this item from the agenda until we've satisfied those cultural aspects, and then we can brief the portfolio committee at our next interaction. Thanks.
Honorable members, as the office asked this information, and when I was looking at it, I'm very sorry to our staff, because I've read everything very late yesterday, as Honorable DM knows about the late meeting that we're having. And when I consulted them, they were saying that it's too late, it's already communicated and is in the agenda. That's why I'm saying that let's take the view that, honorable members, let's leave any question related to this. I was thinking about the family when they're seeing us discussing this thing, as Mr. Jack is saying, with apology to my office, apology coming from me, because I was supposed to see and not allowed this, but because some honorable members, they have got an access to ask the staff. The staff is a staff of the committee, but my apology. It won't happen again. Can members adopt the agenda?
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Yes.
My apologies, Madam Chair. We missed the apology of the minister who is attending a cabinet committee meeting this morning. Apologies, Madam Chair.
Accepted. Voice second. Honorable Amunsondi.
Chair, I move that to adopt the agenda.
Any second? Thank you, Honorable Sondi. Honorable Adams.
Morning, Chairperson, I second on the move of the agenda. Thank you.
Do you adopt the agenda? Second the agenda.
I second the agenda, Chair.
Okay, thank you so much. Let me take this opportunity to give the department to do the overview briefing of Boxing South Africa. We've had apologies from DG, whoever is going to lead. I'm suspecting our Deputy Minister will close the discussions. So, thank you so much.
Good morning, Chair.
Yes,
and good morning to the honorable members of sports
we can't hear you.
Department. You can't hear me?
Yeah, we do now. We do now.
I hope this flow is not affecting your ears as well. I know it can be very bad.
I'll be okay. I'll be okay, Nonsab. I'm going to doctor after this.
The officials of the department led by the DG who's going to leave now, but he is still here, and to the leadership of the Boxing South Africa led by Mr. Jack and the CEO. Chair, as you have correctly pointed out, I'll hand over to the officials at Boxing South Africa. And just to say that at the last time we were here with Boxing South Africa, when they were doing their presentation, I know we noted as this committee the progress that they have made from the time of their bad days to the time of at least good days that seems to be coming. I say this because this week, I know that they are in KZN chair. This week they have dedicated it to a week of women in boxing. And they are in KZN the whole week trying to highlight the issue of women in boxing, which is something that is well welcomed. And I thought it's important that we note that. So I'll be joining them from Friday and Saturday. But handing over to DG, and then DG will then decide how they are going to do the presentation. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, DM. That's why in my opening remarks saying that as this committee, we are all dedicated to the women's sport. And I'm aware that it's not only yourself, because you are in this sport as in sports, and I'm suspecting the influence of women who are in the leadership. They know the role, how to support anything which is with the women of South Africa. Thank you so much, DJ.
No, Honorable Chairperson, as well as honorable members of the August Committee of the Sport, Arts and Culture, as well as our Honorable Minister, the Chairperson of Boxing, the colleagues in the department, who are here with me. May I just, Honorable Chairperson, indicate that to ensure that there is a proper flow of things, I will ask that DDG Khan is able to take us through and with the overview. As DM has indicated, there seems to be a light at the end of the tunnel. We have seen a number of initiatives, particularly to return boxing back even to the townships and the provinces where it used to be at its peak. And we are happy with the progress being made thus far. And I think it is this meeting comes at an opportune time to update the committee, the portfolio committee, on the status of where they are, including the annual report and the turnaround strategy that they are implementing and where they are in that through their annual report. So I will ask DDG Khan to just briefly, without taking a thunder from them, just give the brief overview so that then the chairperson can lead the presentation from Boxing SA. I thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, DG. DG Khan.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good morning again, Chairperson, and good morning to the honourable members, and also acknowledge Deputy Minister, the Chairperson of Boxing South Africa, the acting CEO, and the board members and colleagues. Chairperson, I think let me also acknowledge the delegation who is present from the department. We have Mr. Mtobi Tamzashi, who's the advisor to the minister. We're also joined by Mr. Sbusiso Sanyane, who is our Director for Entities Oversight. Also the Director in the Office of the DG, Ms. Bonge Ramalepe, and our colleagues Nzimeni Novasi. We also are joined by the Parliamentary Liaison Officers in the Minister's Office, Mr. Nkanuno and Mr. Watani from the Deputy Minister's Office. And also from our sports support, we have Mr. Mfundo Mina. Madam Chair, just a briefing, if you can go to the next slide, please. Just the outline of the presentation. From the Oversight Committee, this is the mandate, Madam Chair, of Boxing South Africa. There is an Act, Boxing Act number 11 of 2011, that mandates Boxing South Africa to achieve the following: to provide a new structure for professional boxing, effective and efficient administration of professional boxing in South Africa. They also recognize amateur boxing and create synergies between the professional and amateur boxing units, and promotes interaction between the Association of Boxers, managers, promoters, trainers, officials, and the organization itself. Boxing South Africa further operates within the amended boxing regulations and any international boxing directives and conventions, as well as directives and conventions from the sports movement as a whole. Next slide. In terms of non-financial information, Madam Chair, you can see the 3-year performance of the organization in terms of their targets. And you can see progressively, Madam Chair, in 2019, they achieved 37%, in 2020, 92%, and 2021, 71%. And you can see in 2019, the majority of their targets were not achieved, and it progressively greatly improved in 2020, and in 2021, it was the last financial year, it went to 29% not achieved. Next slide. Okay, in terms of the financial allocation, Madam Chair, we have given Boxing South Africa over the 3 financial years a baseline of 14.295 million in 2020, 2021, 18.051 million, and in 21-22, 19.163 million. Next slide. The audit outcome, Madam Chair, they've had an unqualified with findings, and in 2020, unqualified with findings, and we don't have an outcome as yet. I think the chairperson will speak through that in his presentation. Next slide. We have the list of the board members, chairperson, the composition of the board. The chairperson is Mr. Lutando Jack. And we've got Ms. Zandile Kabini, who's the only woman representative on the board. And then Mr. Gilberto Martins, Mr. Shadrach Ntangeni, Mr. Sitole, Mr. Sodo, and Mr. Miraj. Next slide. And this is the oversight activities that they've had over the last 3 years. And you can see the number of council members and the number of meetings that were held over the years, the number of council, the committees, the different committees of the board, and the number of times that they met. The attendance rating of the council meetings, and you can see that their council at average, there's 90% of attendance at all the council meetings. They've had regular audit committee meetings, and you can see they've had 5 in year 1, 2019, 2020, 6 meetings in 2020, 2021, and 8 meetings in 2021, 2022. And management meetings, there were 10 in 2021, 22, and staff meetings, there were 3. Next slide. The governance engagements, they are part of the minutes of the CEO's forum of the department. The DG convenes a CEO's forum with all of the entities of the department, and Boxing South Africa has been in attendance in all 3 of those meetings that were held. And also the chairperson's forums. They've had 3 meetings, and those, yes, they've already had 3 of those meetings. Next slide. The executive management, they've got Mr. Sitola, who's the acting CEO, Mr. Kenneth Mamosari, who's the acting chief financial officer, and Mr. Mandla Nhlanganiso, who's the director of operations. This is the executive management. Next slide. The staff complement, there are 13 members of staff at Boxing South Africa, 6 females, 7 males. In terms of the demographics, there are 12 Black African, 1 colored. Next slide. This is the latest piece of information that was provided by Boxing South Africa chairperson, to say that there was 1 tip-off that was reported during the 21-22 financial year regarding a tender irregularity. An independent consultant investigated the allegations of irregularities on the Tira Matubula tribute tournament tender at the public entity at the request of Boxing South Africa. And this covered the period November 2021 to December 2021. The investigation was concluded on the 13th of January 2022, and this resulted in the suspension and the resignation of the Chief Financial Officer and written warnings for the SEM role players. The implementation of some of the recommendations of that investigation are in progress, which involved the disciplinary hearing of the promoter that was awarded the tender, and that's still in progress. I think that's the end of the presentation, the overview presentation from ourselves, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
Thank you, DDG. Now, can we welcome the leaders of Boxing South Africa in our meeting? Can you take us through?
Thanks, Chairperson. And we wish you, of course, a speedy recovery. We can really see that you are really not well, and it is worrying, Chairperson. And of course, we thank you for having come to chair this portfolio committee, even though you are visible and unwell. Chair, we will ask our acting CEO, Mr. Stoller, to do the presentation, but I just want to build on the overview that has been eloquently provided by both the DM as well as Chair. I think upfront, let us acknowledge the unwavering support and guidance that we consistently receive from the department, from the minister, deputy minister, DG, as well as the rest of the staff of the department. We would not be where we are if we were not receiving that type of support from the department. So their support is truly, I mean, they are owning the work that we are doing, and this is has been confirmed also by the joint strategic planning workshop we had between ourselves and the department, as well as stakeholders, you know, in the boxing fraternity, and a workshop that was presided over by the minister himself, with a view to really foregrounding our turnaround strategy, you know, of boxing in the country. And then flowing from that, we are now working with provinces, almost all of them. We've signed an MOU with one province, the Eastern Cape. We're in the process of signing MOUs with other provinces. And these provinces have committed to funding the sport of boxing. So that's how we are basically cascading our work. And as we have previously reported, we also signed an MOU with Sanabo. So we are working with them in terms of promoting boxing, you know, from the grassroots. And as the DM said earlier on, this week we are in KZN. Yesterday we were at Mbangeni visiting schools, working with the provincial Department of Sport, Arts and Culture in KZN to basically promote boxing, you know, amongst the youth. And this time around, with a particular focus on young women, and we are really also close to finalizing an MOU with SABC with regards to the return of boxing, you know, on television screens. Even though already SABC is covering quite a number of tournaments. And I can say that we, on this front, the level of activity is quite high. Every weekend now, in no less than 3 provinces, there will be boxing tournaments, not just international tournaments or national tournaments, but also just development tournaments. We've launched, for instance, provincial belts in Eastern Cape, Gauteng, and Free State, so that there are provincial titles that are fought for, you know, again, as part of developing boxing in the country. So if you like, we're moving from grassroots upwards, which in the context of sport is quite an important approach, you know, to developing sport, building the base, so that then at the top, you then have got those firm foundations, and if you like, you've got that pipeline, you know, from the bottom upwards. So that's basically where we are, and as we have previously reported to the committee, our focus is renewal, growth, and transformation, of the sport of boxing. And having now communicated that vision throughout the country, having visited all provinces, and having solicited support mainly from the boxing stakeholders, we are now firmly implementing that vision with the total support, of the sporting fraternity. So we're one as a country in terms of where boxing ought to go. So the key issue now is just implementation. Of course, at administrative level, we're still sorting out the outstanding case with regards to our SY CEO, and that matter is still in court, which is why we've got an acting CEO. With regards to the finance CFO who resigned, we've now begun the process of filling that position. We commissioned an investigation, and there were recommendations, and we acted on those recommendations, which is why the CFO is no longer part of the organization, because we put him into a DC process, and then in the midst of that process, he then decided to resign. So that's basically the overview, and we also had this unfortunate incident of the death of Mr. Buthelezi, and we spoke about that earlier on. But except to just say, Chair, we handled that matter with the necessary sensitivity. We journeyed with the family of Buthelezi from day one after the incident happened up till the funeral. So we also worked with the provincial government of KZN, district municipality of Zululand, as well as the local municipality. We attended the funeral. I attended the funeral myself. So it's a matter that we handled with the necessary sensitivity, and we appreciate the maximum cooperation that we received, from the family, in this regard. Let me now hand over to Mr. Stolle to present the report. Over to you, Acting CEO.
Thank you so much, Chair. Greetings to the chairperson of the committee, the members of the committee, the leadership of the parent department, and the leadership of Boxing South Africa. I would like to take the committee through to our annual report for 2021-2022. Chairperson, I think as the chairperson of the board and the DDG of the department has highlighted the overview of the organization, I won't go through it again in terms of the overview of the legislative mandate. And then the vision and mission is covered in the presentation. This is the level structure of Boxing South Africa. But I need to mention, Chairperson, that the DTG did talk about the DG speak about the turnaround strategy that we have as a department. So in our next appearance, we might present, pending the approval of the board, the new structure that is aligned with the new turnaround strategy, which was approved by the board on May 2022. And I must say that their turnaround strategy has already been, we've already started implementing it, and is currently doing well. And maybe I will touch on it towards the end of the presentation. So we might have this structure change, but this is what we operated with in the previous financial year. And then in terms of our strategic plan, which is 2021, 2020-25, you will remember, or you will recall, Chairperson, that in our appearance, I think on the 1st of March 2022, we did allude to the fact that the current strategy that we are utilizing on that we did found that BSA was not in line with the renewal, growth, and transforming mandate. Hence, we requested to get the minister to host us as a Boxing South Africa and different stakeholders to see what else or where can we improve, what needs to be done for the next 5 years to ensure that boxing goes back to its former days of glory. So what you have here is something that is a core function of BSA, but in our new turnaround strategy, this will be more simplified and practical. So currently we are working with these 3 programs at BSA, which is governance and administration, boxing development, and boxing promotion. In our new turnaround strategy, Chairperson, we now have 5 programs, which I won't talk to today, but we also are reporting to the previous financial year. This is what we worked with from 2021 to 2022 financial year. And these were the target, for instance, on oversight, a number of board meetings, the baseline for the next 5 is 26, and the target for the next 5 years was 25. The number of audit committees, 17 baseline and 20, which means you have 4 per year. And then number of policies, this is administrative level, and the performance information of the department. You have the baseline and the 5-year target, of which we are currently implementing. Then on program 2, this is where you have boxing development. Under boxing development, you have this project, the training of BSA licensees, ensuring that you are licensing, you are recruiting boxing practitioners, and regular ratings. Our ratings are always available online. And then we are sanctioning tournaments, and we have to make sure that there's issues of compliance and safety in all of our tournaments. And there's a project that we're currently working on, which has to do with the amendment of boxing regulations, Chairperson. And we are hoping that project will be finalized before end of November 2022. This according to the advice we have received from our legal services. And program 3 was about boxing promotion, the publication, the publicity, flagship programs. We've got women in boxing that we are currently implementing, and the number of revenue strategies that as a department we are implementing, and it's stakeholders that we are working with, of which the Chairperson has highlighted in terms of SAPC and the provinces. In terms of the audited now APP, I think these are the targets that we had as a department. For 2021-2022, the board resolutions that were implemented, of course, 73, internal audit and external audit findings, the action plan, we had 48 because of the number of, Chairperson, you will recall that we had the CFO resigning. We also had the acting CEO resigning from the organization. So we had then to make sure that at the end of the day, the organization does not collapse. Hence, there were a number of changes and some of the delays in implementation of action plan. But fortunately, Chairperson, we managed to retain even though you want the clean audit, but we managed to retain the unqualified audit status. So currently, that's what we have received, that the opinion is unqualified audit opinion with findings for 2021-2022, Chairperson. On program 2, in terms of boxing development, we managed to exceed some of our targets. If you look at the number of licensing of boxing practitioners, the target was 800, we went to 802. Women, it was 50, we went to 82, which means the appetite for boxing is quite high in the country. And the number of ratings is always 12 months. Then you every month we have ratings. The number of tournaments, Chairperson, the planned target was 30 and we went to 39. And again, this talks again to the appetite of boxing in the country. where everyone is eager and is willing to stage a tournament from our promoters. In terms of boxing promotion, we have now implemented a turnaround strategy. So this month we'll be issuing out our first newsletter as Boxing South Africa, and also the new website has been launched. This has to do with the brand of boxing. And in terms of the revenue strategies, we have implemented some other ways of generating our revenue as Boxing South Africa, and we are currently doing well on that. I think the main issue for now is the one of collecting the debt in terms of promoters who are hosting tournament, declaration of affidavits. I think that's what we are currently attending to in terms of the new regulations. And we have signed, as Chairperson alluded to, we have signed the MOU with Sanabo. In terms of the financial information, under Program 1, we had a budget of 13,110,000, and we spent 13,513,000. In Program 2 was 6.2, and then we spent 4.6, and the balance was due to the Gauteng Boxing Convention, which we were unable to host due to the issue of procurement 30,000 procedure that was implemented by National Treasury. Then we'll be hosting this event on the 8th and the 9th of September, coming month, the Gauteng Boxing Convention. And then in Program 3, I think the balance of 1.3 is as a result of Boxing South Africa not hosting the sports awards, and this will be done in the next, I think next year, February 2023, which is still within this financial year period. So I think that those needed to be articulated because those variances are too huge. In terms of our revenue, I think these are the items as Boxing South Africa that we are utilizing to generate our revenue. And I think as you have the estimate for 2021, 2022, and the overall is 21,541,541 that we were able to collect. This includes also even the grant that we are receiving from our parent department. This is the status of the opinions. As I've said, Chairperson, taking into account the number of challenges that are facing Boxing South Africa, we were able to retain this, but next year the aim is to ensure that we get to the clean, we obtain the clean audit opinion from AGM. And one can allude that you will recall that last year in our report, there were a number of issues relating to SCM. And this year we managed to reduce that. So there's quite improvement. That's what AG has alluded to in terms of supply chain management processes that are being implemented by BSA. And our response to the Auditor General, we have the action plan that we have developed to address the findings. And then when it comes to the other issues, the trade debt, as I said, our promoters, my apologies, our promoters are struggling in terms of paying BSA, and they've met with the board on May to discuss the issue of the amount that they are owing, what can be done so that this cannot be a continuous reflection in our financial statements. And so the board is recommended that let us assess in terms of recoverability and see what other ways can be utilized to collect, and if we fail, how much can be recommended to be written off by Boxing South Africa. In terms of the irregular expenditure, Chairperson, I think last year in our report, there was an amount that was indicated of a possible irregular of 3.3 million rands. And then we managed to sit with National Treasury this year, and this was discussed. So that 3 million rand, which was a possible record expenditure, has been reduced to less than 800,000 in this financial year, which is a good thing. The work which shows that we do implement the PFMA policies and the practice where they are talking about investigating the cases of irregular expenditure. So that's what we did. And when it comes to the consequence management, Chairperson, in terms of the Peter Matebula, tournament, and that report that was issued by independent audit firm, investigative report. We were able then to suspend our CFO, and then as a chairperson alluded to the fact that before the hearing started, then he opted to resign, and the officials that internal officials that were also implicated were able to put them in a disciplinary process at PSA, and they were issued with warnings, final warnings, verbal warnings by PSA, and we recommended the issues of training, SCM training to all of them. So that's what we have done. And when it comes to the promoter, there's a promoter that was involved. The promoter has been suspended by the board. The license has been suspended and is currently attending the disciplinary processes at PSA. Chairperson, before I conclude, just to touch on the turnaround strategy, because I think it's very important that we must always give confidence to this committee about the work that we've done. As the chairperson alluded to, we are at an advanced stage of signing an MOU with SAPC. Hopefully before end of September, this would have been signed. This MOU will see us as Boxing South Africa being able to televise 12 to 24 tournaments before end of March 2023. And then from April 2023 to March 2024, we will be able to televise 36 tournaments on SAPC2. And then April 2024 to March 2025, we'll be able to have 52 tournaments per year, which means we are going to a point where we'll have a boxing match on television every week. That's a 3-year plan which we have and still discussing to be finalized before end of September with SAPC. And provincial MOUs, Chairperson, we have already engaged a number of provinces in terms of signing the MOUs. And our MOUs are not only focusing on funding boxing tournaments, but they are also touching on the issues of the infrastructure departments where they are coming to assist with professional gym for boxers, the issues of training and development, and the revival of baby champs. We know what the baby champs did, what the baby champs program produced. So we're going back there. So we have engaged Eastern Cape, we've signed an MOU. The KZN has alluded to the fact that we might be signing an MOU with them after the KZN Boxing Convention, which will be held on the 29th and the 30th of September next month. And then we're also engaging the corporate sector, the MOUs that we are planning to sign with the corporate sector. These include hotels so that they can become the official sponsors in boxing, company cars, and different manufacturing companies, and your retail, your spa, your Woolworths, in terms of sponsoring our boxer, in terms of nutrition and etc. So we are engaging all of them as Boxing South Africa. Then you've got the flagship program, Women in Boxing, as the Deputy Minister has alluded to the fact that this week we're in KZN, in different regions, just recruiting, creating awareness, developing, advancing, and enhancing the skills of women in boxing. We'll be closing this session with the Women in Boxing breakfast session with the Deputy Minister, where we've also invited a number of business people so that they can get involved in the development and the advancement of women in boxing. Then we've got another project under the new turnaround strategy that talks to the licensing. We are saying, Chairperson, going forward, if someone wants to be a licensee at PSA, that person must be assessed, must go through a training process, write a test, and then someone needs to recommend that based on the assessment, this person deserves to be given a license. Currently, the way we're doing it, anyone can go to our website and send an application. That's how we're approving, but we're not changing. We want to put a professional process into that. And then lastly, which is the life after retirement, we are saying, Chairperson, we've already engaged different financial companies, insurance companies, medical aid companies. All boxers going forward must have a medical aid, they must have an investment plan, and must have a funeral cover, so that each time a boxer leaves us, we can no longer go to different organizations asking for donations. So, Chairperson, let me pause there. This is what is included in our new turnaround strategies and is currently being implemented in line with the main strategy of 2021 to 2025. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Acting CEO, yourself, and the Chairperson, Mr. Lutando Jack, when you are presenting you put these things like from your heart, passionate. Thank you from the DDG Khan presentation and to your good self. My apology, honorable members. I did forget to tell you that there is an apology of the meeting which was supposed to be next one today of SAFA. They are having a 3-day FIFA football for schools launch in South Africa, starting today, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. That's the reason that they are not here today. I've forgotten to put that apology. Honorable members, thank you, Chairperson of Boxing South Africa. Thank you, Acting CEO, DDG, DM. Now it's time to take the hands from the honorable members for deliberations. I have one hand up. Honorable Zondi, the hand is up. Honorable Adams, Honorable Malomane, Honorable Dennis, in that order. Thank you, honorable members.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chair, we welcome the presentation from Boxing South Africa. Ngibulisile njalo angiqala ukukhuluma, Chair. Chair, I have few questions, in fact 3, then 1 comment. We welcome the presentation. Chair, we are noting the low boxing publication articles due to personal constraints. What caused the vacancy? And when will the vacancy be occupied? It is the first one. And the second one, stakeholder management is a critical component of growing a sector and enhancing collaboration. Why is the entity targeting low in this crucial program for the development of boxing? The third one, Chair, related to the first, Boxing South Africa website has a minimal information, particularly on promotional information, such as statements, blogs, and newsletters, which reflect a weakness in the area. What is the cause of this weakness, and how is the weakness, how is the entity going to address these problems? Chair, the last comment, which will be like a scratching a record, the development of women boxing has been the challenge in South Africa. I'll urge the Boxing South Africa in their budget all the time to just pump more programs or budget to this program of development of women boxing, because in fact, if you compare us, I won't compare us with within the continent, but I will compare South Africa globally, because you can't compare South Africa with the continent, because most of the codes South Africa is competing high, and it's among the best in global. So while you are scrolling in terms of development of women in boxing, I think we will be getting there if we can focus on that, assisted by the department or also. So it's just that I will always emphasize on that. I know it's not They don't have a big budget, but in the small budget that they have, if they can concentrate more on development of women. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Sondi. Honorable Adams.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, for the opportunity. And good morning to all protocol observed. Chairperson, I have a few questions. My first question, the committee we commend Boxing South Africa for increasing a number of its 2022 and 23 KPI targets, including number of women licensed, number of boxing practitioners trained, and the number of tournaments sanctioned. And then, Chairperson, there had been a declining expenditure despite increasing revenue over the past 3 years at Boxing South Africa. How will this be prevented in 2022 and 2023 financial year? And my other question, Chairperson, within the 71 achievement of an affirmative basis, what is the percentage of women? What caused an increase of women, and what is the level of women, including in boxing in South Africa, noting the recent success at the Commonwealth Games? My last question, Chairperson, why did Boxing South Africa management not meet in the year 2020-21 and the preceding year? I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Adams. Honorable Malomane. Honorable Malomane.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Let me apologize. I've got a network challenge. I'm in and out of the meeting, so I won't show my video. That's my apology, the first apology that I want to do. Let me also welcome the presentation. My first question, it will be that, noting that Boxing South Africa only achieved 48% of the external audit findings due to changes in senior management, which specific senior manager was vacant such that the audit plan could not be implemented, and why their other senior managers could not be delegated the responsibilities? The second one, it will be Boxing South Africa expected revenue was 1.1 million less, with mainly sanctioning fees and interest and safety and public liability law. What caused the non-attainment of the target collection? Those are my questions, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Malomane. Honorable Dennis.
Good morning again to colleagues and Deputy Minister and Chairperson, colleagues. Thank you for the presentations, and I would like just to support the Chairperson in congratulating Fiona and Solomon for their promotions or achievements, and wish them all of the best. I would like to start off, Chairperson, with the briefing by Ms. Sumaya on Boxing South Africa. I just wanted to know, she quoted the Act 11 of 2001. So I just wanted to know if there was no amendments after that, even from international point of view, any changes that we had to comply with in boxing. And then I noted a mandate, but I wanted just to go through a few things, Chairperson, on the non-financial performance. As indicated, not achieved was 29%. So I would like to know what programs and areas was not achieved and why. I think we can get a written reply on that as well. On the financial allocation, I support the earlier members' concerns raised about the expending difference over the 2 years, particularly during COVID. We understand the 1 year of COVID, but from 14 million to 19 million. There is an increase, which I also noted, because most of the departments and divisions, entities have decreases, but here's an increase, which is good news. And therefore, there needs to be more spending. Under audit outcomes, Chairperson, the unqualified audit with findings. What I'm interested is in what is the findings for 2019 till 2021, the year under review. And the year under review, it's probably still coming. On the composition of the board, Chairperson, I would like to say that it's 1 out of 7 in terms of gender representativity. And on the oversight activities, the management meetings, there were 0 meetings between 2019 and 2021, although there was an increase from 0 to 10, which is a good increase. And then at the same for the staff, there was 0 to 3 meetings. So there was a period, we understand, with the introduction of Boxing South Africa and the minister, deputy minister, sorry, there was a difficult time. So maybe it was related to that time, but there was quite a sinking in of, or collapse rather, of management meetings and staff meetings. But yes, the good, under oversight, the good points was the good attendance and also the good record of the audit committee and the reason, and I want to comment the Boxing South Africa on that, but I think it's important that we get the reasons for the collapse of the record of meetings. And then on the composition of the executive management, I noted it's only black males. Even if we're acting positions, director of operations, black males. And I think we need to look at the composition of the executive management. And then I noted the balance. There is a balance in the staff complements. Chairperson, on the whistleblower information, I note the paragraph is well explained, but I wanted to know, there was a written warning to the supply management staff or role players. I want to know what are their positions in that division. Senior people or is it junior people? Did they understand the rules of the supply management, or was it deliberate, intentional done? And then the recommendations that are in progress, we can have the detail in writing, please. And then the disciplinary hearing of the promoter, I'm not clear how does the promoter fits into the structure of a disciplinary hearing, because my view is the promoter is outside, and if he's in the system, then, or how is he in the system that he's subject to the disciplinary hearing? I just needed clarity on that. And then just to move to the presentation by Boxing South Africa chairperson, I heard a few times the gentleman spoke about a 5-year term target. Now, I suppose the vision of the department can be 10, 20 years also, but the reporting, as he indicated later in the end, is we normally work on the 3 to 5 years, but in the financial terms and the adjustment appropriations, we're looking normally at a 3-year term. Chairperson, 2 questions here under this, under the annual report. I asked already the 1 question is about the reason for the findings. And then there was a column under boxing promotion. I think it's program 3. There was a column that says planned targets and then actual targets. And I just wanted to know whether it should be planned targets versus the achievements, because I'm not too clear. I just want clarity on that. And then the last point on the promoters, I wanted to know about the finance, the point raised about the money or the fees. I wanted to know if that is statutory money that must be paid, or is it voluntary event money based on the events and the amount of events, or the participation on the events and the boxes. And then, of course, in closing, chairperson, I wanted to support the point raised about the health and safety, in particular the nutrition, the medical part of a boxer while he's boxing and after retirement. I think that is very crucial, and that maybe also speaks to the points that we are taking off the agenda today, which will be dealt with at the later stage. I thank you for the opportunity, chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Dennis. Honorable Mama Bulo.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Also, you know, with me that I have challenges of network. I'll just shoot straight so that I don't waste time. But firstly, Chair, maybe to appreciate the work, man. They are doing well, but I'm not satisfied. Remember, Chair, when I was growing up, I was watching Dingan Trovela, Baby Jake Matala, and the likes of them on TV. We are in Bongo, and many of them. And then now I'm happy that SABC also on Fridays were able to watch boxing around 10 o'clock in the evening. But we watch boxing from the same provinces. You are Eastern Cape there because the only person who's active there in boxing is Ayanda Matiti. He has been active for a very long time. I don't know what is happening with other provinces. Here in Limpopo, Honorable Chair, it will only happen once in 3 years at Mwabramatodi or sometime after 2 years and so on. I mean, I want them to start going around and making sure that we watch boxing in all areas. Also in schools, man. Last time when I saw boxing at school, I think I was still at high school or primary school. That was around 2000, 2001. Maybe 2 questions quickly, Chairperson. I can see what they've underspent by 3.3 million. I'm trying to check what could have been the reason why they did not spend it, because we need to spend money so that we make sure boxing is visible in the country. The other issue is the issue of the CFO. They're saying the CFO has resigned. What were the issues there? Was the evidence of wrongdoing? If yes, then why are we not seeing anything? I mean, it can't be, because the CEO is the engine of every institution, Honorable Chairperson. If we get these squabblings, you know, even at soccer and cricket, when they fight, when the 2 giants fight, it's the grass that suffers. So the issue of the CEO, can I get clarity there? And also maybe the last one, I can see that they're being owed. I'm trying to check who are the principal 3 debtors who are owing the entity. And department also, man, Chairperson, it must be seen doing road shows, man, promoting boxing. We need to see boxing. We need to start reviving sports in this country, whether from your soccer, your cricket, blah, blah, boxing, rugby, and so on. Chair, I think I must just thank you here and pause. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Mama Bulo. Let me also, there's now another hand, Honorable Mhlongo.
Chairperson, thank you very much, and thank you for the presentation. Not so much. I wanted to congratulate Boxing South Africa, and one of the things that I've seen even on their website, and especially to the acting CEO, they're promoting women boxing, which is I want to acknowledge and congratulate you. I think it's high time that all sporting code must align, and especially regarding empowerment of women in sports. And one of the things that I wanted to ask, I saw that you've been visiting schools, KwaZulu-Natal and other provinces, especially to promote women in sports. Now, how much have you used for that tour? Because even 2 days ago, I saw CEO, you were on the field. How much and where do you get that budget for? And I wanted to ask, now and then we allocate funding for Boxing South Africa. One of the things that I was asking myself, when are we going to have the CEO, not the acting CEO? Why do we have people who are acting in the Hollywood instead of us having people who are permanently employed? Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mhlongo. Let me also pose some few questions. I do hear the honorable members through this thing of CFO. Any criminal case against himself, did you open anything? And then the next question, how does the entity conduct disciplinary hearings on promoters? And what framework exists to guide such processes? Also, I would love to know what lessons can be drawn from the recent celebrity boxing games with the famous one by Casanova's Vice Anga Nika Makubalo, which attracted much attention to the sports. How will Boxing South Africa promote this initiative to promote the sport and its political economy? The last one, what is the economic value of boxing in South Africa? And how does Boxing South Africa ensure that sectors benefits are distributive to the players and those involved in the industry? But my general comment, not the question, we do appreciate the work that we are doing, to teach our boxers. And I wish that maybe all sporting code can do what we are doing of trying to encourage any sporting code to encourage the players to open to try to introduce them to the funeral benefits that they can have. This is a very important issue which we are addressing, because you'll be hearing that so and so was very important. Somebody was doing ABC, but now when it comes to put her or him to rest, nothing with the family will be getting pauper's funeral. This is an innovating project which is very good that we are doing. We are encouraging even we have seen Banyana that Sasol has been the only people who are since 2013 who are assisting them. But now you see that everyone is trying to come. But if the leadership of Boxing South Africa is doing this, trying that every business sector, as we are trying to do, must be involved, not only to look at the government side, but this thing, it can be happened with the leadership of each entity, or like the Boxing South Africa is doing. This is a noble idea or ideas that we are coming with. I thank you. Now let me give the leadership of the Boxing South Africa chairperson, acting CEO, but chairperson will direct your team to answer questions, the DDG, and at the end, our DM. I thank you.
Thanks so much, Chairperson, and thanks to honorable members for those questions. I will start, and then the acting CE will deal with the technical and administrative related questions. I will deal with those that fall within the province of the board. I think let me start with your questions, Chairperson. The economic impact of the sport of boxing. part of the turnaround that we're talking about, one of the programs that we said we need to focus on is what we call sport for development, which is basically looking at the value addition of the sport of boxing to various sectors, of the economy, be it, for instance, sports tourism as one of those, because boxing happens in hotels and so on, and it therefore attracts people to want to stay in those places. So what we said our management must do, Chairperson, is conduct a study exactly on your question, so that when we talk about our role as boxing, we can then be able to say, in the Eastern Cape, boxing contributes so much towards the economic growth, of the province in KZN and so on, and therefore nationally, this is its a contribution, including the social contribution, of boxing in honing the capabilities, of young people to be champions for life, not just champions during their period, which is why the acting CEO was talking about those programs, because part of what we want to do is taking care of our athletes, from cradle to grave, and some of the top promotions in the country already, for instance, they've got provident funds, for their boxers. A few months ago, one of them in the Eastern Cape was launching the same, so that we don't have this challenge, which is broadly speaking a challenge of sport, wherein you've got this athlete who was great during his athletic time, but post his or her active life, you then realize that his or her life then declines. So that's part of our priority, Chairperson, and thanks for raising that question. It's a very important question to us. With regards to the S2LC CFO, yes, indeed, we directed management to open a criminal case. That's what also was recommended by the investigation. The investigation said DC as well as a criminal case. So indeed, we did as the board direct management to do that. Desync promoters, yes, Chair, and members, because I think other member also asked this question. The Act empowers us to subject into due process people who violate our rules and regulations, licenses who violate our rules and regulations, as well as the Act. So we do have an instrument that was well canvassed throughout the country that we use. We've got 2 DCs. We've got a DC for staff, which is regulated in terms of the Labor Relations Act. And then we've got a DC for licensees, which is regulated in terms of the Boxing Act that was quoted that was referred to by one of the members. And both DCs, we've established a panel of independent lawyers who preside over our disciplinary cases as Boxing South Africa. So we are allowed by the Act to exercise discipline, of course, within the confines of the law. The CEO position, we've been reporting about this matter to the portfolio committee all the time, that the erstwhile CEO was fired by Boxing South Africa via a DC process, and then took the matter to the CCMA, and then his matter now is at the labor court. So a hearing did sit. We are now awaiting a judgment, from the labor court, in this regard. Once then the judgment is released, we will then act on the basis of the outcome of the judgment. Of course, it's not going to be, we can't predict as to what will be the outcome of the judgment. That's what has been holding us from appointing a full-time CEO, because what he has asked the courts to do is to reinstate him. So if, for instance, we're to then appoint a CEO, and then the court reinstates him, then we'll find ourselves in a situation where we've got two CEOs. So that's what is basically holding us back. And we would want this matter to be resolved, because having administrative stability is quite central in ensuring that the plans that we presented to the portfolio committee are expeditiously implemented. Then with regards to boxing in all provinces, a reference was made to Limpopo. We've just had a tournament, I think a month or so ago in Limpopo. I've been there in Limpopo myself during the roadshow. We are engaging Honorable Mamabolo, the MEC for Sport, Arts and Culture in Limpopo. She has committed, as well as the department, to support our work. We do have, I think, about 5 promoters that are part of our licensees from Limpopo province. As we're saying, Chairperson, there's been a huge uptake of tournaments, as particularly this financially right across all provinces. So the level of activity has grown tremendously. So if we're to be asked to provide the latest statistics in terms of the number of tournaments that have happened per province, to just assure members that we are on course, I think we can provide that particular information. But of course, we would want boxing to be the talk of town, just like it used to be. But it has started to be like that. I think we can say that people are recognizing the work that is being done. There is massive appreciation, but we are not yet there. I think we've got to say that to the committee, that we're not yet there. With regards to the composition of the board, I think I will leave that to the department, because it's the department that is responsible for putting together the board. But with regards to management, yes, going forward, that's what I was saying to the acting CEO, that we must target females, and we've got to ensure that the non-racial outlook of our society has got to be also reflected, in our management echelons as boxing South Africa. So hopefully, in the position of the CFO, in terms of applicants, we hope that we'll be able to attract those demographics. I will leave some of the questions for the for the CFO, and I mean for the acting CE. And then for those that we don't have ready-made answers, we'll then act as advised, basically submit a written response, to the portfolio committee. With regards to the Commonwealth success and women promotion of women in boxing, we totally agree and support the sentiments of the members of the committee. The Commonwealth success is from the amateur ranks, and as we have said, we're working with the South African National Amateur Boxing Organization, which is the SANABO, working together. Like the work that we're doing in KZN now, we're working with them in terms of going to schools. So that, as I said earlier on, we've got this talent pipeline. Because anyway, that's the best philosophy with regards to the development of any sport. You've got to create a base, and that base is nothing else other than focusing on development. So that then you've got that pipeline from development, to the professional. Because if your development is weak, you're not going to be able to have professionals and have athletes that win titles nationally as well as and medals internationally. And again, what we have done, for instance, with regards to women in boxing, we don't want to only rely on the department's funding. We've also approached Lotto for the funding, particularly of women in boxing, of our women in boxing program. So we've submitted a proposal. We're working with them in terms of improving that proposal, so that we then have got this financial support from those types of entities. Chair, thank you so much. Let me now leave the rest of the questions to the acting CEO. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. Through you, Chairperson, may I respond to the first question from the first member. Some of the questions the Chairperson said will provide a written response to those. In terms of the vacancy to be occupied, as I alluded when I was presenting the strategy, the turnaround strategy, that once we have approved that strategy, so then the new organizational structure is now aligned with that, but we're currently just fine-tuning it, pending the approval by the board. That's when we'll be able to have warm bodies at BSA, and depending on the finance, because once we have the new structure approved, we will come to the department requesting more funding so that we can have warm bodies in that structure. That will be able to help us to achieve the turnaround strategy. But I must say, we are currently working with what we have. As you have seen, the website is there. We just launched it last week, I think last week, the new look of the website, and you are seeing now the number of activities in our website, which is more updated and more relevant, the number of media statements, the blogs that we are putting there. We're just working with what we have currently, which means the staff that we have at PSA has to take more work, and that impacts on their performance agreement as well. So once the issue of personnel will be sorted, once the structure is approved by the board, and the funds are also made available by our stakeholders. And then on the issue of stakeholder management, I think we have alluded to that. We've got the number of stakeholders that we are engaging working with SANABO, provincial department, national department, public entities, municipalities. I cannot count them. Corporate sector. We are working very hard to strengthen our relationships with stakeholders. For instance, let me jump to the question by Honorable Themba Mhlongo. In terms, he asked a question about what are the budget that we had for Women in Boxing Week. In our budget, we had just
point of order, Chair.
Yes, Honorable Mhlongo.
My name is Sapo Mhlongo, not Temba. On a lighter note.
Okay,
No,
noted.
thank you, Chair.
Yes.
Yes. So we had a budget of 400,000 at BSA for a women in boxing flagship program, and through stakeholder management, the parent, which is the department, the officer of the DM, said, we're going to assist you in terms of accommodation and in terms of booking the venue for this. And the KZN department also came on board. And then so we had these resources in our office, which are not enough, but we, through our relationship with departments and other stakeholders, your municipalities, we are able to put out this particular Women in Boxing Week. So that's part of what we call stakeholder management by PSA. In terms of the findings, I think the number of findings were on SCM, especially if you read the management report, previous financial audit report, the number of findings was in SCM, of which is this particular year, those findings has been reduced. Those findings were resulting to what you call possible irregular expenditure, which was then investigated, and from 3 million was reduced to an amount of 800,000. And this particular year, same thing applies, but we have an improved audit report in this particular year. And in terms of the boxing being taken to school, and that's what we are currently doing this week. We've done it as a success, and many provinces are calling for this to be done across the country, and we're going to do just that. And in terms of the underspending, as we have said, it just two main programs. It was the boxing convention. We were planning to do it at the end of March, but due to that court order, which then resulted in National Treasury giving us instruction not to say, let us not procure anything above 30,000, were to put it on hold. Hence why we'll be hosting that convention towards, the second week of September. And then sports awards, we're able to do this because of the COVID, and then we have to do a proper planning. We are planning to do this towards the end of October, but we have realized it's too much administration involved, and take into account the number of resources and the personnel, let us postpone it to February next year. So that's the reason why you have that particular savings. In terms of the board ratios, I think the chairperson has articulated to that I think all provinces have been covered by Boxing South Africa. From June 2020, the board started, June 2021, the board started doing the ratios across the country, and we completed our ratios this March in Polokwane. I think on the celebrity value, what we are saying as Boxing South Africa on that is that we have to embrace innovation. The event that took place in Sun City gave us a spark. Everyone was talking about boxing on that day. Boxing was trending on Twitter. So we are saying it has to be done within the framework of boxing regulation, but the innovation is currently embraced. And we are capitalizing on those milestones that are achieved through innovation. I think, Chairperson, there are some questions that I couldn't get clear because the member was having a network issue. But maybe if they can be repeated, one can respond to those. For verbal warnings, as the chairperson was saying, junior employees, the 4 officials that were involved in that report were junior employees. And when we investigated the matter, we realized they were just lacking the issue of training. They've never been trained on SCM. So we said we're going to provide training so that this incident does not repeat itself. So they were given verbal warnings. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. Is there any? Okay, let me give it to DTG and then our DM.
Yes. Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you to Boxing South Africa for their very detailed presentation and also for all the questions that have been asked. Chairperson, just to indicate to Honourable Dennis around the Act that if you look at the presentation that was made, Honourable Member, it talks about the mandate. I think it's slide 3. And in it, yes, we do speak about the Boxing Act 11 of 2001. But if you look at the last sentence there, it says the Boxing SA, it further operates within the amended boxing regulations of 2005. So the regulations were amended. And I do know that boxing was also looking at further amendments to the regulations. And I think that process started a while ago. So there are, because this is a developing, you have to respond to the environment you find yourself in. And hence, there have been lots of engagement with Boxing South Africa and our legal services and ourselves with regard to further amendments. You will also note that at some point we were also looking at a combat sport bill that will be more encompassing of all contact sport, not only boxing, but also the martial arts, etc. But we've had to put that on hold as a longer term initiative whilst we finalize the main Sport and Recreation Act. Madam Chair, the issue of boxing in schools as raised by the Honourable Momobolo, the schools boxing, yes, boxing is a priority code. And we work with SANABO in terms of, the non-professional side of boxing. But boxing in schools, we are hamstrung by the Department of Basic Education and their directives around combat sport. So as a result, like we have all the other codes of sport within schools like cricket, netball, football, and we have all these codes of sport participating in the National School Sports Championships. We're not able to do that with boxing because of the Department of Basic Education's regulations and their directives. So hence we will not find it. However, SANABO looks at the junior boxing development program where young boxers who are at school can be accommodated. But as part of the school sport program, there's no boxing. And then, Madam Chair, I noted, also the comment about what the department is doing to assist. I think between the chairperson and the CEO, they've mentioned quite a few initiatives where they support, the department has supported them. Further, Chairperson, I think we have this working with Boxing South Africa. We facilitated, all of the logistics and assisted them to finalize on that strategic session that they've very successful strategic session that they hosted earlier in the year. I think it was in around February, March. So we played a role there in ensuring that we support Boxing South Africa in that area. Further, Madam Chair, the issue of women's boxing in the provinces, there was a directive, a resolution coming out of our HEDCOM meeting. A HEDCOM meeting is between the DG and the heads of departments. And it was a directive from the minister that we should be ring fencing money in the conditional grant for women's boxing. So all provinces were advised that they must ring fence a set amount of funding from the conditional grant to ensure that where they are supporting boxing bouts in the professional boxing bouts in the province, that there must be women's bouts included, and there's funding that must come from the conditional grant towards that. So I think some of that Chairperson and CEO is talking about in the provinces and women, etc., also comes from that initiative as well. But Madam Chair, let me stop there. I know that DM also can contribute ably to many of the other initiatives or responses to questions. Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you so much, TTG. DM. Hello, TM.
Thank you very much, Chair. I don't know what's wrong with my network suddenly. When I'm about to speak, it plays, but I hope it will hold on until I finish. Thank you very much, Chair, and really appreciate the
the questions that came from the honorable members, if the Boxing South Africa listened attentively to the questions, most of them were about improving Boxing South Africa. The questions mainly, they were directed in making Boxing South Africa better. And I thought it's important that we take that and we note it. For instance, the question that has been raised around the issue of the CEO, it's something that we really need to come to a resolution of it at some point, because this issue has been sitting with Boxing South Africa for some time. And until and unless it is resolved, it will keep on being asked by the honorable members. And I thought probably the department needs to come closer to this issue and see how we can assist to, put it into bed at last. This case of the erstwhile CEO that has taken Boxing South Africa to court has been going on for some time. But if you look at the other question, particularly that was raised by Honorable Dennis around the issue of the structure and the board, in terms of particularly the board having only one woman there. I hope it's something that Boxing South Africa has taken into heart and know that moving forward, it's something that they need to look at. It's not going to be very nice that as we talk women in sport, it shouldn't be about women in sport only in the activity of sport, but also in the management of the sport itself. So it's something that we need to take to heart, because even the new structure that they are talking about, I hope that they will realize that they need to make sure that there are women there, because in the executive management, as Honorable Dennis has pointed out, it's all Black males. I know that the previous acting CEO was a female, but since he has left at that management level, there is no woman there. And I think it's something that we should take positively as Boxing South Africa. We really want to appreciate, Chair, the fact that that memorandum of understanding with SABC will help boxing to be more visible. And I think we all appreciate it. And the fact that the memorandum of understanding is also it's going to the provinces and it's going to the amateur boxing. And just to brag a bit, Chair, just the Commonwealth Games that have just been concluded, amateur boxing had contributed 2 medals there. 2 medals from those Commonwealth medals came from amateur boxing. And I thought it's something that is important because it bodes well in terms of the development of sport and the young people in general. And we would like to say to Mr. Jack and the team that we would like to see more of those medals, not just 2, probably more, but the beauty of those 2 medals is that one came from a young woman. And for me, that's something that was very nice. And it's the first time that South Africa gets a medal in boxing from a woman in the history of boxing. And those are the things that we should take home and work and build on them. And therefore, I really want to also stress on what Chair has raised on the celebrity bouts that took place in Sun City. I think Boxing South Africa needs to look at that in detail and see how they can leverage on that to make sure that it makes South Africa more fashionable and more of a sport that is spoken about and more of a sport that becomes the popular sport in the country. So celebrity bout, of course, took place outside of Boxing South Africa, but how then do we learn from that? And how do we make sure that there's collaboration between Boxing South Africa and those that are dealing with celebrity bouts to make sure that we actually popularize the sport? Otherwise, Chairperson, one is very grateful about how the committee has engaged Boxing South Africa and actually put on pointers
on areas that they can improve on, so that when they come back to the portfolio committee, they actually are showing some improvement on the areas that have been raised. And I thought it's important that whilst most of the time when portfolio committee members engaged entities, it's more of questions that they would want on things that are not going well. But here, Boxing South Africa must appreciate the fact that the lot of questions that have been raised are more about improving the sport moving forward. Thank you very much, Sla.
Honorable members, I do also feel that we are doing well on doing oversight to our department, and we do see the responses and the products of doing oversight. I'm so impressed. In Boxing South Africa, we wish you to take care of the proposal of this committee, and as the ministry, it's going also to take care of what we are saying, doing a follow-up to you, assisting you, and the only thing that you are going to do will call and check the progress. But we are hoping that this question of agenda, it must be everyone's priority. When we are in this sport, the question of transformation, it goes together with the gender issues. So we've seen that I've just heard that the only female who was with you resigned before, after you have submitted this. But as DM, you are saying they must try their best, that let's not fight for women's sport and then in their executive they don't have women. We know that is not about themselves, but they are leaders. They must preach the gospel to those who manage to put them in this position. Honorable members, can I say that we've done today with our meeting? Maybe can I say that the meeting is adjourned unless I don't think that after the DM has done this closing remarks, we need anything to say. Chairperson Witando Jack, we are releasing you. DM, we are releasing you with your encourage. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair and members, as well as to DM and the colleagues from the department. Really appreciate your leadership. Thank you so much.
Meeting is closed.
Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Chair.
It was a good
Thank you for
today.
Thank you for today.
Bye, Chairperson. Hope you're well.
All of the best for the health, Chairperson, and everyone who's not feeling well.
Thank you, Comrade Honorable Dennis. You too.
I think Chairperson might be already off the line.